Hey everybody, Eric Seidel here, or Foo Fighter 288 if you're familiar with my channel. Welcome to episode 3 of Nobody's Listening with Eric Seidel. I want to first begin this episode by semi-apologizing, because I don't believe in apologizing for, there's a lot of apologizing having to go on these days, and yeah, well, I'm not going to go in and all that kind of crap. But in all seriousness, I am going to apologize for yesterday. I was a bit lit after the Bengals and Ravens game. Well, that I'm not sorry for. But from a professional standpoint, it was probably not best for me to start an episode of the podcast while still in that state. If you're familiar with me and have watched Drunk Gaming, well, then, like I said, not really seriously apologizing for my inebriated state. But I'm also not going to apologize for any disparaging things I may have said about Ohio during whatever rant I may have actually done in the last episode, because even people in Ohio know that anything I said is most likely true. I mean, seriously, that place sucks. But Cincinnati is a nice town. I will give them that. But today's episode isn't about that. I do want to expand a little bit more about what I mentioned about illegal immigration yesterday. And with that said, this episode is probably going to be a little more somber, a little more serious, and a little more grounded than what I've been doing previously. Although this is only episode 3. So before I begin, in what I hope is not going to turn into a rant, I want to let you guys know right off the bat what my political beliefs are, in case anybody gives a shit, because that appears to be the number one thing about everybody who's got a platform. And especially since I'm a white guy, I'm sure a lot of you are like, oh God, he must be a racist. No, I'm neither of those things, and I'm sure as hell not political. And I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, I think politics is crap. It's crap. It's a bunch of old people who are way richer than you or I, making decisions that we have no choice in, and being petty towards each other and living in their mansions in Chevy Chase and Bethesda and Silver Spring and counting our tax dollars that we have to pay every year. And honestly, a lot of them don't deserve the money they get, and a lot of them should have retired a long goddamn time ago. For a while, I was a registered Democrat when I went to vote. And then for a while, I was a registered Republican when Larry Hogan was governor of Maryland. But I want to let you guys know and assure you guys that I'm neither a Democrat nor a Republican. I'm not a hippie. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a what this or that or blah, 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 or any of that shit. I don't like politics, and I don't like to talk politics. And if anything, I would like to start my own political party. It would be called the BBB Party. Boobs, bong rips, and beer. Because that's really what life's all about, baby. Boobs, bong rips, and beer. That's a political party everybody should join up on. But with that said, I think you can just, if you want to just keep yourselves in the whole 9-party or whatever the hell it is system that we got that doesn't mean shit all in the whole grand scheme of things, then just consider me an independent, because that's what I consider myself, and that's what I'm registered as an independent. Now, with all that out of the way, let's talk about illegal immigration. Key word here, illegal. I'm not a hippie or any of that, but I do feel for some of these people that have to come to this country. I've lived here my whole life, and, well, let me tell you, it ain't easy, and we both know it. You got to bust your ass to try to get the American dream, and for a lot of us, that dream is just getting by day to day. So by all means, if people from other countries want to come here and live in this great nation, this great melting pot of the United States of America, I welcome it. But there's some caveats that need to be, addressed in the process. There's fire marshals. They have sort of a capacity with things. And be honest with you, some of the people that have grown up here don't even deserve to be in this country. But hey, I can't do nothing about that, neither can you, and sure as hell the politicians aren't going to do anything about it. So, if new blood wants to come into this country, then by all means, they should be welcome in. But they got to do it legally. But the thing about it, is even when people illegally come into the United States, they keep trying. And that's what this country is all about, is to keep trying. Even when adversity is just piling down on top of you, you keep trying to get into the country. Like, for example, a Mexican guy, he illegally swims across, the Grand Rapids or whatever the hell the name of the river is down south. He gets into Texas. He hooks up with his cousin. He stays there for a couple days. But then INS or ICE or whatever they call themselves nowadays, they grab him, they take him back over the border, and then most of the time they just go, shit, I got captured. I'm back in Mexico. I didn't want to be back here. I'm going to try again. And then they try again. And then this time they climb over the wall or the fence or they tunnel or whatever the hell they do, and they get back in there, they get to Arizona this time. And then this time they last like maybe, a month. And then they find a decent job at some place. But then INS or ICE or whatever the name of the people are, they grab him again. They take him back. And he goes, shit. And then mostly at that point, people give up and they head back to wherever they came from. But then, no. This hypothetical guy, he tries again. But this time he goes to Western California. And he goes through that peninsula, and he goes around the ocean, gets a raft, goes around the fence in the ocean, and goes into California. And then he's there for about a year before INS or ICE or whatever their name goes by these days captures him again and takes him back over to Mexico. You probably think I'm setting you up for a joke right now, but like I said at the beginning of the podcast episode, I'm being serious here. There are illegal immigrants that try and try and try and try, and then they learn with each try on how to be able to stay in the country for longer than the last time. And that's kind of what this country is all about, in my opinion. It's all about trying. Even if you fail, you try. You fail. You do it again. You keep monotonously doing it until you frickin' succeed at what you're doing. And in my opinion, if somebody from another country puts that much effort into trying to be an American, then in my eyes, they're an American. I don't know what the whole situation is down on south of the border. I'm assuming it's a lot of people who just don't have lives in Mexico or Honduras or Belize or whatever the countries down there, and they're trying to get into the United States to maybe make a go of it for themselves and for their families. But they're not doing it in the legal way. Like, they just don't have the money to go to the classes, to get the green card. I have no problem with more people coming to this great nation. But in giant droves, hold the fuck on a bit. You know what I mean? You just gotta, you gotta get in line and work out a way to get in here legally. That's just my opinion on it. Now, the thing that's a damn shame is how politicians are literally using these people as a political grandstand, or in some kind of petty way to piss off other politicians in other states and cities. Like, for example, I'm not going to name names, but people in certain southern states are literally putting illegal immigrants on buses and shipping them to states where the Democrats have said, we'll very much welcome these people. Basically what I've been saying. They're welcome as far as I'm concerned. But then once they get to where they're going, they start to go, oh my God, there's too many immigrants here. What the hell? And then they start to get the reality of the situation and realize, hey, there's a crisis at the border, and now they've literally shipped some of their crisis all the way up to Denver or up to Chicago or any place. They put them on a Greyhound bus and shipped them to that thing just so those politicians will say, oh my God, this is a problem. And then all of a sudden it turns into a first world problem, as I would call it, because then they start to bitch about how there's too many people in their neighborhoods now because of the immigration quote-unquote crisis. It ain't a crisis, all right? What you got to do is you got to cut off the head of the snake. Is it warring drug cartels, perhaps? Is it a dictator in another country? The only dictator I know about is about that asshole down in Venezuela. All right, that's all I know of. And even that's been a while. I don't know if they overtopped, revolutionized, or whatever the shit, because it's, Viva la Revolution and all that shit. I don't know if they've done that in Venezuela. I don't keep up to date with South American and Central American politics. What is this, the 1980s? What am I trying to win one for the Gipper? I don't know. I don't fucking care. I got my own problems, But the thing is, if that is the issue, if that's the reason why people in droves are coming up from those countries, then maybe you ought to send like Delta Force or Navy SEALs or something down to those countries, take out those asshole politicians or drug cartel guys or rapists or whatever the hell it is they're running away from, and then maybe bring some stability back to that region. Next thing you know, everybody that's cramming around at the border trying to get over the wall or the river or the tunnel or whatever the hell is going on down there will say, hey, you know what? Everything's all right back in, I don't know, Argentina or whatever. Let's all head back. What the hell? Let's all drive back there and everything's fine. That's the issue. It ain't so much men, women, and children trying to get into this country. It's about them trying to get the hell away from whatever they're getting away from. But, there's no oil down there, so none of the people up here give a shit. They're not going to go down there and send tanks or special forces or whatever to go down and try and fix whatever problems are in those countries that are making people want to come up to the United States. I just think you got to cut the head off of the snake, and then it'll fix everything. But, who am I? I don't know. I'm not a sociologist or whatever the fuck. But I will tell you this much. I do welcome anybody that comes to this great nation and wants to make a go of it, wants to open up a business or open up a restaurant. Hey, that's another thing. Man, I would need a whole other 15 minutes just to talk about China and Chinese Americans and all that. Look, anybody that comes from China and actually becomes an Asian American in this country and creates a great restaurant or creates some kind of something that just makes everything better for the rest of us, hey, they're welcome in my book. Any immigration, I love, you know what, like I said at the beginning, immigration is what made this country what it is. All right, it was the Italians and the Irish and the Germans. Now it's the Arabians and the Mexicans and the Nigerians or the Nigerians. I ain't gonna try to pronounce that name. Yeah, but hey, try. Imagine my surprise when I saw there was a country below Nigeria that was spelled like that without the little apostrophe as the French would usually put in their words. Hey, when I tried to pronounce that, I was like, oh, wait a minute, where's the little apostrophe thing? I just, that's very awkward. I spell it out as I see it. But yeah, problems in Africa, that's a whole topic for another video in itself, but I'm not making any promises, not that I want to go on and on about that. But yeah, there's problems everywhere. But the main problem in my mind and in your mind and a lot of other people's minds is that there's problems right here in the United States. And the politicians just like to use buzzwords like immigration, gun control, blah, 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 blah. But what they really like to do is they like to bring children into it. They like to bring children. Oh my God, yep, somebody's penis worked. A kid was born, another thing was brought into the world, and now suddenly that's the catalyst for a whole political movement. Oh, they got all these children. They're all in these concentration camps on the south of the border. Oh, my God. Hey, how about you start passing out some condoms? And then you're shipping money to Ukraine. You're shipping weapons and whatnot to other places. Send out condoms. Hell, send out some condoms in our own country. That'll fix a lot of the situations. God knows they can't get abortions anymore. I don't know who made that call, but hey, maybe you gotta do something. Starting to think that whole Children of Man deal that they had going on in that movie was a great idea, to be honest with you. Because when it really comes right down to it, there's just too many goddamn chefs in the kitchen. And the problem is a lot of these chefs are just sitting around with their Tonka toys and Legos and whatever and getting in the way while people are trying to prepare the meals, metaphorically speaking. But I'm not trying to say that there's too many children in the world. I'm just trying to say that politicians shouldn't be using them as a cat, because there's so many of these, think of the children type politicians, and it's like children aren't the problem, children are the solution. Okay, they just need proper education, but holy shit, that is a can of worms I'm not going to go into, because even this country doesn't have its education system figured out. Hey, if anybody wants to try to immigrate to anything, they ought to try to go to Norway or Denmark or one of those countries that speaks English but knows what the fuck they're doing when it comes to, teaching people properly. But yeah, man, I opened up all kinds of different doors with what I could be talking about later on, but I'm well over the 15-minute mark, and just keep in mind that for this episode I was sober. So, thanks for not listening, everybody. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, and in the meantime, try to be good to each other and not take everything too much to heart. I know shit sucks out there these days, but we're all in this together, for whatever those words still mean. Anyway, peace out. Love you.